Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Today I am speaking with Shaparak. Um, I'm going to totally butcher your last name.
شجری زاده.
Hi Shaparak, thank you for coming on. Shaparak is from Iran. She's living in Canada now. Uh, she was taking part of in White Wednesdays, and she was also imprisoned by the Iranian regime, and then she had to flee Iran because she was facing, I think you were facing like a 20-year sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to just tell people a little bit about yourself, what's going on in Iran, and then we can just go from there.
Thank you, Obaid. Hi, everybody. Thank you for listening to me and letting me tell you about the situation of women's rights in Iran. How can I start? I'm 40 right now. I'm 44 years old, and I was born uh, before the revolution happened in Iran. But I was a kid when it happened, and actually I witnessed all the changes in my country when I was a kid. I myself witnessed the changes in dress code for women when I started going to school, and I remember each year we had different rules, and each year they were more strict and difficult for us. And in some point at the school, when I was in high school, women had to have complete hijab, but at the school. We didn't have to. We didn't even. They didn't let us even have white socks or white trainers, and it was so hard for me. All my years, I tried to do something because even when I was a teenager, I knew it's my right. For example, when a brand new trainer came to market, I just wanted to try it and have it at the school, and I knew it's ridiculous just to wear black. And so all my life I had questions about the rules and the repression on women, and inequality between women and men. One by one, I realized that I don't have the rights that my little brother had. So even and I found out about the um, Muslim rules about men differences for men and women in Islam, and I couldn't get it. It was a time that I was.
Can I just ask
Do you
you?
have a
Yeah.
question?
Just sorry about. Like, all okay. Now I wasn't there. I'm just by reading about it and seeing about it. So I mean, the Iranian Revolution happened in '79, and the Ayatollahs kind of fully got control in
Yeah.
1980, right? So how long before the revolution? Like how like was it? It wasn't obviously the revolution happened today, and then tomorrow everyone's wearing hijab. Like it did it take 6 months or a year? Like how long did it take for them to start pushing that aspect of strict Islamic culture, strict Islamic rules on the women? Like was it right away, or did it take 6 months, a year, a little?
After 1 month, Khomeini started talking about dress code for women, but it wasn't in our law book. And mm, revolution happened in February, I guess. Um, and in March, women had now. Then I read it. I don't remember that
Yeah, no, it's
demonstration. But in March, in Women's International Women's Day, Iranian women on 8th of March they had this big demonstration in the streets. But in that time they easily could suppress the revolution, the demonstration, and women wasn't happy about the changes, about the dress code, about other changes. And but it but I I know now I know that it takes like 2 years. They started with the government offices. They fired women without hijab. They didn't let women even to enter. Then they didn't let people even to enter those government offices. Then it was like little by little, they had this law that women have to have hijab in the streets, and it's just one of the like rights that they had taken from women little by little. We don't have the right to divorce. We don't have the right to go abroad or have a passport without our husband's permission. Little by little, they changed all the laws and rights for women. And for example, the I don't know how to say it, but before revolution, women could marry at the age of 18 and without anybody's permission, but at the age of 18. But it has changed to first to 9, then to 30 years old, and with the permission of the dad. So there are lots of women that they had to marry because of because their family forced them to marry, not women, kids, and it's still going on. And when it was a time that I was a Muslim, and I practiced Islam when I was like 17, 18 years ago, 18 years. But even in that time, I couldn't understand the difference between men, and the difference in rights between men and women, and inequality, and I had lots of questions. So little by little, I stopped practicing because I know it's not right. And then for years, I was just following the other women's, the activists. I just following them. I was a normal woman. I was just after my life, but I was just following their news, and most of the time it was depressing because they tried to do everything. They tried their best, but in some point, all of them had to stop, and they would end up in jail or leaving the country. And I was always telling myself, because we are not, when I started reading about suffragette and the women's movement in other countries, I always telling myself, this is we don't have the element of being united and standing in solidarity with these activists, and they are alone, and that's why the government can stop them and put them in jail, and that's not right. But I didn't know what to do and how to start. I wasn't a journalist. I wasn't like a lawyer. I didn't know what to do. I was just an engineer doing my job. And then I got involved in animals' life, and I was for years I was an animal supporter. And the situation of homeless animals, dogs and cats, is terrible in Iran. And so I was very angry, and it was like anger and anger and anger, because we animal supporter did everything. We spent our money for animals, but the animal that we were feeding, we were healing, they would end up dead by the government. And the government, one day we realized that those animals are all dead, and I was very angry, and I guess that was one of the reason, because no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, nobody listen to you. It's just the when a creature doesn't have any rights in my country, nothing is gonna change for that creature. So, and then White Wednesday, at the first week of White Wednesday, one of my friend sent me a video of a young girl and a young boy having this video and asking other people to join White Wednesday campaign, and that was it. I was following Massey page, my Stealthy Freedom for years, but that page didn't pull the trigger for me, and it was but White Wednesday, because in that video they were asking other people to join them. So that was it. And in that video, they just asked people to wear white on Wednesday, just wearing white on Wednesday. So you show that you're not, you don't, you want this law to be changed. And so I went.
Just a quick question. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. But like the White Wednesday thing, because you'd mentioned, okay, you weren't allowed to wear white socks or white trainers as a kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the hijab and everything, it had to be black, right? You couldn't wear a white hijab, right? You had that's part of the reason why they did the White Wednesday?
In public, women actually wear colorful dresses, but they can easily arrest us. It's not like everybody in our country wearing black, but for them the rule is having dark, not black, having dark colors like dark gray, dark navy, dark, like green.
So white hijab wouldn't be proper.
But women don't do that. Women don't do that. We brought fashion during these years. Iranian women brought fashion to our clothing, and actually Iranian women dressed in fashionable way. But if those morality police officers see us, they can easily arrest us, put us in jail. And for Iranian women, it's like this is life. We are in danger of being arrested every moment when we are out of home, and that's what was bothering me. Because when we Iranian women go out of our country, the first thing we say to each other, we feel safe. In other countries, in the streets, we feel safe. But in our home, in our country, Iranian women never feel safe when they are in public, when they are in the streets, because we know that we may met up with like some of the leaders' followers, Basiji person or a morality police officer. They can easily arrest us or insult us, or
even someone in the
insult,
public.
Shame us,
or
in
just
public.
Anyone. No, but I mean, it doesn't have to be like an officer or something. It could just be someone on the street who can just say, "How can you?"
Anybody,
like?
and anybody can insult us. Anybody can hit us. But what the police and the law doesn't back us up. They are they have their back, so you can't do anything. Even for having a dog, or it's always dangerous for women out there in the streets. So from the first week, the second week, I was filming myself, and in that video I just told them, I'm a woman, I'm a grown-up person, and I'm a human being, and please don't drag me to your heaven. That was my sentences, and I sent it to Massey, and she published it. It's that video, and that's what started. I was filming myself every week and send it to Massey. And little by little, after 1 month, the campaign started to change. It was not like Masih told the women not to wear hijab. The women who were participating in this movement, the women who were wearing white in public and saying those things, little by little, eventually they decided not to wear hijab. So after that, we weren't wearing any hijab, and for me, it was like after a while, it was like every day, every day. I just had I had lots of colorful scarves, but I put them aside, and I just started having white scarves every day, but not I wasn't wearing them. I was wearing them on my shoulder. So I was always in public. I wasn't wearing hijab. I had my scarf on my shoulder, but during this movement, it was like a wheel. I did it on purpose. I was doing it on purpose, and so I was sending Masih. I also started writing about women's right and the violence against women in my country, and my thoughts and my dreams for us on my Instagram page. That's how it started.
Okay, now I just want to touch on a couple of those things because, I mean, I've done it out here in the West, and other people, and they always bring up the extremely horrible things. So the terrorism, the killing of apostates, the killing of gays. But it's the little day-to-day things that I think should be brought more to life, because not that terrorism is bad, not that killing apostates isn't bad, but the fact that just for walking out on the street dressed in the manner that you want, you can get arrested. To me, that seems like a much bigger problem, day-to-day lives, especially of women in Muslim communities, than the terrorism and all that other stuff. I think like we focus too much on all the big things, and I think we should start maybe focusing more on what it does day to day, how hard it makes people's lives, the lack of choice, the lack of everything else. I mean, I think those things are far more important to discuss than the other stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For some people are saying that it's not important, but for us it's important, because that was our daily life, having the terror and having the fear all the time, having this shadow of fear on our shoulder every moment of our life. And Iranian government, Iranian people are not everybody are religious. Most of the people are not that religious. We don't have that strict Muslim community among people. Iranian government know that Iranian don't practice these things, but they just tell people you have to do it when you are in public. So the other thing is, Iranian people live the lie. They don't lie, but they live a big lie. In our home, we are another thing, and in the streets, we pretend to be something else, and that's very bad, and it affects all the aspects of our life. Iranian people learn to pretend. They drink, but in public they say we don't drink. They don't believe in hijab, but when they see an officer, they have hijab. And even now we have lots of news about celebrities and lots of attacks on them, or some criticism. I had some criticism. Our celebrity come to our national TV and say, we believe in hijab, but out of Iran, in other countries, they just dress like other Western women. They don't wear hijab. That's what it is. They forced people to lie. Now Iranian people live a lie. And I was fed up of pretending. I was fed up of lying. And that's the case for all other women who were participate in this movement or movement like this. Or after that, the movement had another hashtag came, and the movement enjoyed another one, like my camera, my weapon. Massey asked women to film the people who attack women, and you see, I guess you see those videos, online. People can see, people around the world, the violence that Iranian people are facing every day.
Now, in Iran, you've had, there was, forget the Islamic Revolution because that's what you're trying to get away from, but you've had a couple of different counter revolutions or counter movements happening, but it didn't really seem to start taking hold. I guess also part of the fact is social media, and then you guys can get all this stuff out to the world where you couldn't before. So like the White Wednesdays, the My Stealthy Freedom, and then in what was it, Christmas of 2017 or so? I can't remember the name of the woman. She stood up on the power box.
Vida Movahed. Vida Movahed. One Wednesday. And she went up that utility box in the center of the city and waved her white scarf on a stick. And that was it. It was the start of Girls of Enqilab Street. The women who that was that was a performance showing the government in a different way that I oppose compulsory hijab. And after that, I was one of the women who started doing that every day or every week. And
sorry, I just have to interrupt you for 1 second here. Because I just have to say this. You are incredibly brave. No, but
I was scared all the time.
Okay, but that's just it. You were scared and you still did it. And you did what you thought was right. I have to say, I've been following you for a while, and just have to get that out. What you did was incredibly brave, and much respect to you for that. Sorry, I'll let you continue.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I was scared all the time, and but it was when my family or my husband asked me to stop. I was like, I can't stop. It's not. I can't. For me, it was like I can't live anymore. I started doing something for myself. Finally, I had a voice as a person, and I couldn't stop talking. So I was one of the women, but there were lots of women and men around the country who did that. And they also arrested those men, and they served some time in prison. And so for them it's like even in a most peaceful way, in a most beautiful way, when you show your opposition, for them it's like as they say in the accusation, acting against the government and collusion and assembly against the government, as they say. And so I was one of the women who was participate in that movement too. And it was, I guess, it was not like they were separated. Lots of women who were participated in that movement were also White Wednesday women. And but after arresting me and some other girls and giving us long sentences, that movement stopped. But White Wednesday and my camera, my weapon, these movements still going on. You know what? Because the violence against women hasn't stopped. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to come back to that in a second, but you spent time in prison, and then you got imprisoned,
Short
then you
time.
got arrested
Yeah.
again, and you were sentenced to 20
Yeah.
years. I mean, if you don't mind, do you want to talk a little bit about that, and then how you got out of that? Or
Yeah. And 22nd of February, it was Wednesday. I went out. I went to a place near my house, and I waved my white scarf on a stick. Then I got arrested. They accused me during the interrogation. They accused me of being a spy for other countries, and I was very scared because I knew that everything has changed, is gonna change for me. And but they didn't have anything on me, just my trips to other countries, nothing else. And so in the first hearing, I got one. I had the judge gave me bail, and I could be released with bail, but the those interrogators sent me to prison in solitary confinement. So I started being on hunger strike. I knew I was watching too many movies and or reading, and I was reading about suffragette movement a lot. So um, uh, I was trying to do the same. So I started having a hunger strike, and so in that time it wasn't like that. Now it's worse than that time. So after 1 week, they eventually accepted my bail, and I got released. But 2 weeks later, they arrested me again. I didn't do anything. I was just writing um, about my rights, and I was actually had lots of lives on Instagram and telling people about the thing they had done to me. Like they beaten up bad they beat me up badly during the interrogation, the accusations, the insult, the everything. I was talking. I was very angry at the interrogators, and so I told people and my followers about everything that had happened to me. And 2 weeks later, I went to that building to get my mobile phone back with the order of the judge, but they arrested me again, and they arrested my husband. And it was a very scary day because it was just before the national holiday. My son was home alone, and nobody knew we were there. They arrested me, and they didn't let us call anybody. So nothing. And my family and my husband's family were out of town. We were just very scared, and they tried to again accused us of being a spy for other countries. That was a scary day, but at the end of the day, they didn't have anything on my husband and me. They released me, and I was like quiet. I was like silenced for 1 week on social media because I was too scared, and my husband was also he was very scared. Then I couldn't stop. I started talking to people again and posting pictures, and like 1 month and a half later, like 50 days later, they arrested me again in another city with my son, and that was very bad because he was with me in the interrogation room for 6 hours, and he was very scared. He was screaming, and I realized, and as the interrogators told me, I realized they just want me locked in prison behind bars. till the date of my court. And that's what the interrogator told me the second time I got arrested, that you can say bye to your bail, and don't and we're gonna lock you up here till your court, and you're not gonna see freedom. So and so when they sent me to prison, and I was like, and it was another city, and I was in jail with like murderers and traffickers, and the traffickers were very nice, though they were the cool ones in prison. But I told myself, I'm gonna go out of this place one way or another. So from the moment I I entered that place, I started having hunger strike. 2 days I stopped having water as well. Then my lawyer Nasreen came, and they let her see me to tell me to stop the hunger strike. Nasreen told me, have water, have liquid, but she told me not to stop hunger strike. That would work. So I was in that prison for 9 days, but for 5 days, once the first time 2 days, and the second time 3 days, I stopped having water, and the second time I was actually going to die. It was very hard, and so they sent me to Tehran, and they released me till my court day, and that was it. I told myself I'm not gonna stay, because I realized that they can do anything with you inside our courtrooms. There is no law. I had a lawyer. I had a famous lawyer, but she couldn't do anything. They didn't let her talk to me. They didn't let her tell me what to do. They didn't let her to defend me. For me, Nasrin did a lot for me, but these lawyers, the only thing that they can do is telling public about the situation. Nasrin was brave enough to tell the people what's going on, and what had happened to me. And you know what happened? He got arrested too.
Yeah, I was going to say, she's been arrested, and she has to get what?
Yeah.
Like 40 years and 178 lashes or something like that?
38 years and 148 lashes. And
for doing her job, right? She was hired as a
for
lawyer.
for doing her job as a human rights lawyer, nothing else. But so I left the country, and I knew I couldn't go to the airport, and I had the Canadian visa, but I know I couldn't go to the airport. So I eventually I could found somebody to help me, a smuggler to help me go to Turkey, and then after 3 months I came to Canada. But when I was in Turkey, it was my trial happened, and 3 days after my trial they arrested my lawyer. 1 month later they arrested her husband, and since then it's going worse and worse. And right now, one of my best friend, a woman who when I was in prison for the second time, a woman went out in public and talked about me. She didn't do anything. She just told people about my situation, that she's a mother and she's away from her kid, and she's in jail for opposing compulsory hijab, for demanding her rights. That's what she said. Nothing. And then we got friends and we got very close. And now she got 23 years jail sentence. And now when they arrest women, they don't give them bail. They just keep them behind bars, and then the trial happens, and then they have to be there. And I can't believe she's there for 20 years for doing nothing. She was just supporting me or Nasreen or other women, and asking other women to join us and to support us. That's it. And now she's in jail. For last week, I found out that she has to be there like 23 years, and that's insane.
But okay, I mean, just for talking out again, recently, I think it's like a week now, maybe they passed the law that any woman filming herself can face 10 years in prison or something like that. That just
Yeah. That they passed the law because they were actually they were doing that. They were practicing. I'm sorry, this nonsense. And they gave me 20 years. They gave other women those sentences, but now they passed it as a law. So because during that time our lawyer tried to defend us and say that's not right, but now they say it's a law. So yeah, any woman who they just want to create terror and more fear in the country. They feel threatened, and this movement. I myself, I never thought that a movement can continue like more than 2 years. They will stop eventually after a while, but this movement is still going on. And they want to, with these long sentences, with these barbaric sentences, and these law, they want to just create more terror and fear in the society. So women stop, but I don't think they can.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for all the women who've been arrested, for everyone who's been arrested for things like this, I mean, I think there's something to be coming out, and it's going to be getting better. But I think it's in the short term, it's going to be the government's going to try to hold on to their control. I mean, again, getting back to the little things. I mean, I can't remember the name of the young woman.
Vida Movahed.
No, not her. It was another one. She was like 16 or 17. She posted a video on Instagram of her dancing, and then she got arrested. She wasn't an activist. She didn't. No, she was a young woman. She was a young girl who was just she was a dancer, and she posted her videos of dancing. But when they arrested her, they forced her to have a false confession, and on national TV, and that was when we other women say that's not right, because she was a young girl, and forcing a 17, 18 year old girl to have this confession on national TV was against the law. And that's why all the women came and started dancing and posting their videos and say, we are dancing, we're supporting. Maede Hajbari was her name, Maede Hajbari. But Maede never, she's living in Iran, and she's probably scared, and they try to intimidate her. So she didn't she didn't say anything or doing anything. But it's not Maede that I always say
it's not that girl that matters, because she told public, I I'm not an activist and I'm not doing anything, but she, the, it wasn't her that we were angry about. It was the things that they did to this young girl, you know.
Well, I mean, that's okay. She doesn't have to be an activist. She doesn't have to be anything. That's what I was trying to
Yeah,
get at. She was just a
yeah,
young girl who was dancing,
yeah. That's yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
they do that to her, and then
yeah.
again,
They
like
did.
like the White Wednesdays, the My Stealthy Freedom, like the girls that were dancing, the women that were dancing, like I think those things are far more powerful than having crowds of people yelling and chanting and walking down the street, because it's just little things saying sorry, we're not going to stop you from letting us do what makes us happy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. When, for example, in one of the city, because in Iran it's not against law to ride a bicycle, or it's not in our law that women can't ride a bicycle or motorcycle, for example. But we're not allowed to do that because the leader once told that once said that it's not appropriate for women to ride a bicycle. So in one of the city, for example, they arrested some women for riding a bicycle, and you know what happened? Other women went out and started riding bicycle and said, we are people and we want to ride bicycles. That's what is going on in our movement.
and that's
Uh,
amazing. And I have to say,
yeah,
again, I have to say
yeah,
that's incredibly amazing, and again, incredibly
yeah.
brave, because you're just saying we want to live our lives and we're not gonna, and riding a bicycle, dancing in the street, whatever. I mean, those should be, no one should stop you from doing things like that, and it's just you guys are not giving up. Again, it's incredibly amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. But when once the first time I went to the Canadian Parliament, and I don't know, in the backyard there was these statues of women's activists in Canada. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
And there is this memorial note, and even in that note, I cried, because that's what I was saying my whole life. I want my right as a person. And even in that note, that they were after their rights as a person, they wanted to go to the parliament and be there as a person. And for me, it's like that. For other women, it's like that. We are not different with men, and we want our rights as a person. And Iranian women,
Okay. I
they
want.
they they can't stop us.
Yeah. No. I want to talk about that, because we talked a little about that before. Was you come to Canada and you start speaking out, and you're getting attacked for being Islamophobic or something
Yeah.
because you speak. Now, I mean, that must seem like such a betrayal to you after you see that thing behind the parliament, and then you go speak at a school or something, and people call you Islamophobic for speaking out against his hijab. It's. I mean, I've tried to put it into words how
They
ridiculous that
they
is.
told me you're causing Islamophobia. Yeah, they told me you're causing Islamophobia. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but like, how do you? I mean, I think it's in some ways it's easier to react to the Ayatollahs or some mullah somewhere saying, forcing you to do something. That's very easy to deal with, right? Because you know exactly what to do. But you come here and you have this person who, out of a sense of goodness or whatever, we don't want to be racist, we want to be all inclusive, and you're talking about basic human dignity for, millions, like hundreds of millions of women around the world, and specifically, tens of millions in Iran, and they're calling you Islamophobic, or they're saying you're aiding to that, or you're saying, like, I find something like that much harder to deal with than, like an Ayatollah or a mullah or whatever just going, oh, you can't do this because it's against Islam. Like that, at least you have arguments for. But the other thing, I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in the world, but this is this like atmosphere of that they said don't talk about the flaws of Islam, and I cannot understand it. And I told them, no matter what, how hard you try to say that you that you're they accused the people of being Islamophobic, but you know, Islam is like other religion, and you have the right to criticize the flaws in each of them. And Islam is like other religion, and no, whatever you like it or not, hijab is a symbol of sexism. I cannot change my thoughts. It's a symbol of sexism because it forced women just to uh, mm, like hide their hair or their face to cover themselves. And there was this girl once told me that it's a symbol of devotion, and I told her, why don't men have to show their devotion by covering themselves? Just women. So when it's just for women, it's a symbol of sexism because um, it forces one of the sexes to do that, not the other one. So that's why I say hijab is a symbol of sexism, whether you like it or not. I don't. I respect women who wear hijab. That's their choice. For me, is a way of dressing. As a way of dressing, I respect that. But as a way, if they want to tell me you can't criticize hijab and Islam for the inequality between men and women, I can't. I want to stop because Islam is like other religion, and you can criticize the flaws in any of them.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, that's perfectly, that's the same thing I've been saying. And it's like, okay, stick on the hijab for a second. It's also, I mean, part of the reason you wear it, or one of the main reasons, is because apparently if I see a woman's hair, I'm going to go crazy and want to rape her, right? I mean, that's totally sexist. It's totally misogynistic. It's,
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah,
it's saying that, well, one, it's also it's saying something pretty bad about men there too, that men are so
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
that if they see a
It's
woman's hair, they're going to go rape her.
Yeah, but that's some excuses
Yeah,
when you read about the when you read and have some search about the history of dress code for women. It goes back to like 4 million years ago from the first civilization, and it was just for suppressing women in that time when the first civilization happened. um, the rulers wanted to suppress like women because of phys- the the physical of men. They need them for like wars and everything, but and they wanted to force the other sex to be home and to 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 do the things that now we think that's a woman's duty, but in that time, for the first people, for the first men and women in the first civilization, they were like each other. But after a while, the rulers, when the first civilization happened, the rulers decided that one of the sex had to like stay, and the other one goes for wars. And the history of dress code goes back to 4 million, I'm sorry, 4 million, no, 4,000 years ago, and 2,005 500 years ago, in lots of regions, in like in Greek, um, in I don't know it now. It's like Iran and Iraq.
yeah,
I don't. I
like
Yeah,
Babylonia and
they yeah
Mesopotamia.
they yeah they had dress code and women, and Islam just took that code, and it's not like it's the all the things they say about hijab, men and women, and like being seductive, or like don't having control. It's just excuses. For me, it's just
Okay, no,
excuses.
those are excuses, yes, and it's definitely about control. But I'm just
Yeah,
saying, like, when those are the reasons given, right? I mean, like, if they're taking those reasons out of the Hadith and the Quran. If those are the reasons given, those are the excuses. I mean, that's the Islamic justification of why you have to wear that. I'm just saying that. So that justification in of itself is like incredibly sexist and incredibly misogynistic,
yeah,
and
and
it's
insulting to men too.
yeah, and it's. I mean, okay, that's I think we're getting a little bit off, but I think that's one of the big, huge issues in like very closed Muslim societies is the separation between the men and women, and this continuous segregation. And so
Yeah,
when they get older, they don't know how to deal with each other. They like they if you've never talked to a woman until you're 18 or 19, or vice versa, right? Except for
yeah,
your brothers or your father, and even that's very limited. I mean, you don't know how to deal with the other sex. You don't know how to deal with, men don't know how to deal with women. Women don't know how to deal with men. I mean, it's bad for society in general. It's bad for everything if you keep them that separated. I mean, it's like I said. I think that's why a lot of these little things, and they're not little. I keep calling them little things. They're not little, but it's the day to day things that aren't like oh, 50 people died in a terrorist attack today, or things like that. It's everything that affects your day to day life, and that'll affect the society in whole. That I think is more of the problem.
yeah, I agree.
Anyways, I don't want to keep you too long. If you have, I mean, I'm more than happy to sit here and talk with you all afternoon. But I want to keep you. If you want to, if there's any other things you want to bring up, like, uh, Joe, if you have any more information about what's going on in the movements. Actually, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I keep hearing it, and I know you're here, but at least you were from there. Um, like, there's the MEK, and
Yeah.
then there's the people who are doing the White Wednesdays and all that. So I mean, because everyone thinks it's okay, it's the general population against the the Islamic government, so they want a more secular thing. But there are small groups like MEK and stuff like that which want to put in another type of Islamic rule as well, right? It's not just people
Yeah,
going for freedom from Islam.
yeah, yeah. There are lots of opposition groups from the beginning, and now after 40 years, some groups are getting stronger. Even people in Iran are against the government because of years, because it's getting worse and worse for people. And we were waiting for people were waiting for for the reformists to do something, but now they realized they were just lying to people for years. So there are lots of like opposition groups working against the government, and one of them is MEK, and MEK was a group who was active from the beginning of revolution, and it goes back to 40 years ago. And but for me, and they have, I don't know how, they're not uh, actually they're not popular in Iran. The Iranian people don't like MEK, but they are very powerful in other out of Iran. They have lots of money, they have lots of support, and that I don't know how, uh, because they have ideology, and as a person who were brought up and was under uh, repression for 40 years. I know what the ideology can do to the society. It's, I, and people, Iranian people, I don't think they support MEK, but and sometimes I tell them that that's ridiculous. You have some ideology like Iranian government, and people don't want that. people don't want to like live under the repression of some rules, and still, and once I got to this like fight to one of them on Twitter, and I told him, what are you saying? He apparently lives in Canada, and I told him, what are you saying? The symbol of sexism is on your leader's head and the others. How can you talk about freedom, having bringing freedom to my country, and bringing giving women their rights? Uh, People, if people can like change the government, it's not gonna be them. I'm sure it's not gonna be another ideologic government or groups. People don't want that.
All right, that's good. Well, it's good to hear because, like I said, I hear things and I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I
I,
understand. And it's, I don't know, but they even dress in the same way, and that's scariest
yeah,
than Islam.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You
yeah,
go from one oppression to another. It's not a good thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Anyways, like I said, if you have anything else you want to talk about, if you have something
yeah,
coming up you want to talk about or anything like that, please
yeah.
feel free.
That, yeah. Thank you so much. I just want to tell people, the activists who think they have to like support the Muslim women. I I'm not against hijab or Muslim women. I'm just I just I just want the freedom of choice for Iranian women, but I want them to be the voice of the women who are who are in jail, the women who don't have any rights. The situation of human rights in Iran is very bad, but lots of activists and lots of politicians decide to ignore it. For them, um, standing in solidarity with Muslim women is very important, but at the same time, they ignore the other women who are under lots of pressure in Muslim countries like in Iran or Saudi Arabia. And now things that is changing for women in Saudi Arabia, and I'm so happy for them. But still, they are human rights activists, the women rights activists in jail
Oh yeah,
in Saudi Arabia. Be their voice, and be the voice of these people too, not just a group of people. And we need more support from the people around the world.
well, I don't think I could have said that better. Well, thank you very much, Shaparak. It was great
Thank you.
having you on, and thank you everyone for
Thank you so
listening,
much.
and be back.